eyes dare to see all the greatness I possess, endless possibilities. Look in the mirror, what do I see?
Welcome to another segment of the Seek Elevation Experience with yours truly, Attorney Alakisha. Yes, I'm an attorney, but if I ever talk about anything dealing with legal, I am not giving you legal advice. I am conversing with legal education for you to take that information and learn more. I will have to know your specific situation to give you actual legal advice. But here on this platform, this is where real issues, real people, and for real conversations take center stage. I say this over and over again. I will continue to say it. Change doesn't happen in silence. When it's time for you to speak, utilize your voice. So from sports and entertainment to business and community, we elevate the voices that need to be heard, ready to be heard. That's from people that I bring here to grace our stage, to grace your ears and your mind. That's times when I'm solo, and that's even you engaging with your questions, thoughtful questions. But here we don't just talk, right? We empower, we inspire, we definitely challenge the status quo, but we also connect, create that circle. Why are we hearing what we want to hear? Why do we come to the table to hear someone deliver or share what they're going to share? I hope it's not just to hear it. And what I've been seeing since I've started this season segment is a lot of connections happen. And through those connections, when you hear people that come on here and you find like-minded people or those opportunities for you to elevate and you connect, you do my heart well, you do your life well. And that's why I expect from our guests today, too. Oh, I'm excited to bring our guest on. Major energy. Anytime she enters the room, energy, it shifts. We'll be talking about a lot today, and we'll see where the flow takes us. But we'll just talk about a secret weapon, one that I think a lot of individuals don't know about, don't talk about, probably think it doesn't apply to them. But we're going to get into that, especially for entrepreneurs, secret weapon. I believe it is. So we're going to get into that. So if you're tuning in already, I advise you to, share, tag someone, let them know. But I also advise you to hear, and if you hear something that you do not understand, to ask questions. So let's get ready to get into it. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest, our lovely guest, who is a powerhouse. She definitely is a powerhouse. And I will tell you one thing, she definitely has brain processing power. Ms. Linda Chatmon, she's a founder, a business strategist, a serial entrepreneur with over 30 years of experience helping women, veterans, entertainers, and athletes transition from the mindset and focus of just influence to influence and infrastructure. She helps to put them in a position to build real businesses that can leave real legacies. Now, you know that's what I speak about all the time. Why are we doing what we're doing? You may define what legacy means to you differently, but it means something that sustains past you, right? But she helps these small businesses and she helps them to navigate this complex world of government contracting, right? And she helped individuals win. But she's not just, I keep saying help them with contracts. She's not just assisting with contracts. So let me just slow down. She's not just assisting with contracts. She's commanding them. There's a total difference. It's this and it's that. You know, people say we are not the same. This is that. This highlights that. She doesn't just assist with contracts. She's commanding them. She has negotiated and managed over $13.2 billion in federal contracts. And she's built like this entire ecosystem, I should say, of brands that can fuse entrepreneurship, technology, purpose, and power. And I say the latter three, they're so necessary right now in our time right now. We always looking for other ways, digging other ways to be impactful right now. But we really have to understand how to look at how technology, purpose, and power can be fused together. Through the App Diva, her tech brand, she co-develops revenue-generating apps with CEOs, which I tell individuals, you're CEOs of yourself anyway, but you have to operate like that. Get, CEOs, continue to level up. Creatives and athletes who are ready. I'm going to say this again. Who are ready. There's a difference. When you connect with people, when you say you want to level up, say it, versus when you are ready. So she helps these individuals who are ready to expand their empires into the digital space. And the one thing I can say, we're definitely like-minded. Linda believes that one brand shouldn't box you in. Like, your brand is success. Your brand is legacy. Your brand is achieving your goals. That's not boxed, right? So her journey, and as we get to hear more about it tonight, is a masterclass in building multiple brands that speaks to every layer of who an individual can be. Strategic, soulful, and you can be scalable. And I'm a living example of that. So with no further ado, I am going to bring our guest to the stage.
Hey!
I told you, didn't that energy already shift?
Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, no, I thank you so much for coming on here and gracing us with your presence. So the pleasure is mine and you're welcome as well.
Thank you. First, I just want to say thank you so much for actually getting it. You're the first podcast, and I've been on tons, that knows how to connect the dots. I'm like, well, I'm just not Miss Contracts and Grants, but I'm everything CEO. Because as CEOs, we need technology. We some of us are dating in relationships in our 60s. We're all dealing with family. So all of my brands speak to everything that a CEO needs. And you get that. The fact that I get to talk about everything and how they relate to one another, that is amazing. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for recognizing that they all talk to each other.
They all talk to each other. And I tell individuals that for life in general, like what you're doing, all your touch points talk to each other. There's no separations. Like even when I talk to athletes, I said, okay, you're focusing on sports, but you are a business, right? And you have CEO in you, and same thing with entertainment, all the way around. So there's touch points, and even what those of us do to help individuals, it's not this box either, right? It's this thing that people say, think out of the box. I have gotten to a point in my life where I said, crush that box. Why are you in one anyway? Let's get rid of a box and create whatever we are creating. So no, I'm more then
Great,
get it.
great.
So I usually do the open introduction for individuals, but I always want them to just, from their own words, just tell people, like, who you are or whatever it is that you want them to know before we get started, not just from my intro of
Sure.
who I see you are. So let
You
people
know,
know.
well, hey, I am a serial entrepreneur. You got that right. Been in business for 30 years. For 30 years. And it's almost as if when I started, I had not planned on, I started as a nonprofit. And so I kind of just went from a nonprofit, and we'll probably get into that with some of the questions. But what I want people to know most about me is that I try to touch every single layer of their life. Everything from business, to family, to dating and relationships, because so many of us are in that pool right now. And technology, I remember, long before AI came out, I was like, man, if I could just automate my brain, and bam, here comes AI, and it literally has done that. So yeah, just pretty much everything that touches a CEO's life, I have a brand that contributes to that, and that's kind of it in a nutshell.
I love it. So I'm gonna pick up from there then. Like, let's back up a little bit. And we're not even going to talk about just necessarily what inspired you, right, in your journey to step into this world of federal contracts. Just now, I want you to just give us a little overview of kind of what inspired you to help people in the manners of the way that you help them. So probably more than likely, it starts with us, something that we needed. We are who we needed at a particular time. So
Yep.
let's back up, Melinda, just talk about what that looked like as you're walking up through your journey, that kind
All
of
right. Well,
brief
it
inspiration.
starts with contracts and grants. That was my flagship brand. And believe it or not, I've had a nonprofit. And I had a nonprofit where I was transitioning women from welfare to work. It's actually how I got to Georgia. I was a White House appointee to the Welfare to Work Advisory Board, because I had transitioned more women from welfare to work than anyone else in the country at a pay rate much higher than everyone else. Everybody else was getting jobs, like housekeeping jobs, $7 an hour. Our average uh, uh, per hour rate in the 80s, excuse me, in the 90s was like 17 bucks an hour. And so what happened was I was really good at doing that. But what I found was that more people were more excited about the fact that I had done my own 501c3 and got my own contracts than they were with the results of what I was doing. I had Marriott, UPS. At that time, there was a welfare to work initiative in place. So I had them saying, "Oh, could you come in and build a welfare to work?" But I was like, "But wait, I'm training these people. I don't want to do. I'm not a consultant. I'm a trainer."
Right.
And after my contract ended, I had so many people who wanted me to come on as a consultant to help them start a nonprofit, get contracts and funding. And that's how it started. It started with something as simple as people needing that. And then as time went on, I developed additional brands to support that. The one that came next was Contracts and Capital 8 and 14. Which is, of course, our sports and entertainment brand. And then there's the App Diva, because at that point, I needed tools to help me do what I did better and faster. So I created apps for CEOs because I have a busy life. So I figured everybody else had a busy life too. And then now, as a result of the last 7 years, and this is my latest brand. You don't even know about this one. It is called Emotional Immunity. It's my journey through grief, heartbreak, and business transformation. In the last 7 years, I've lost an immediate family member every single year, or a business partner, or a close friend. And I also was in a relationship, and that relationship ended with just another loss. Not so much the relationship per se, it was just another loss. And then AI came. I had to transform my entire business. So I was like, I got to get this out. I got to get it out. So emotional immunity is exactly what it sounds like. It's right after the science of vaccines. It means staying and dealing with your pain instead of not trying to deal with it. And the second book is called Healing with the Ones That Broke Me. So just like a vaccine, you get injected with the very disease that you're trying to not be cured from. But what happens is you build up a tolerance, and eventually you have an immunity. And so and then our technology project is Plus One, which is basically where business meets lifestyle. Everybody I do business with, you know what? They like socializing too. So we put that together, did a great job with that. And that's the two newest products that we have out right now. And I got to tell you, when you do business, people do business with who they like, and you know that. And so for me to be able to have the opportunity to have my clients, also put them together for business. And may I give you an example of the epitome of the way it worked? All right, so there's this young lady. Her name is Toya. She was already a client of mine. Okay, this is what Plus One is all about. And it came because I was always invited to stuff, and I didn't always, I was married, so my husband was in DC at the time when we had dual residency. So I was like, I can go. I don't need a date. I just want to go to the party. I want to go to the Super Bowl. So that's where it came from. But last Sunday, our season opener, I put my season opener tickets, Falcons, on my Plus One app, saying, hey, who would like to be my Plus One for the Falcons game? Well, she replied. We were already doing business. Well, come to find out, she's a major Falcons fan, but her first cousin is vice president of events at Mercedes-Benz, a relationship that I wanted. So of course I chose her. So she came, we had club seats, and I got to meet her. She came to our section. So that's exactly what Plus One is about. It's about taking my business relationships and exposing them to social experiences and allowing other people to do the same thing. And so that's just the kind of whole gamut of everything that we got going on now. And that's kind of how I got started. I got started literally doing, it was a nonprofit. I was doing community work.
And I should have been writing, because listen, that is some amazing things that you have going on too. And it makes sense how all of it ties together as well. But I want to go back to what you said you was doing. Is it, to make sure I was hearing it correctly, is it welfare to work?
Yeah, welfare to work. Back in the 80s, President Clinton had a welfare to work. Well, welfare to work initiative was what it was. And at that time, corporations were required to have welfare to work programs, because at that time, women had to work in order to they either had to work or go to training in order to get their benefits. And I kind of see that that's kind of going back to that. And the name of my organization at that time was called POWER, and it was an acronym for Providing Opportunities for Welfare Reform. And that's what I did. And so now it looks like that's going to kind of kick back up. So if there's anybody out there who's looking to have a training program that is tried and true, and want to get a contract, because I can guarantee you there's going to be a lot of state agencies going to be looking for training, especially if they require that from those individuals that are receiving assistance. So great program.
So when you did that, though, when you was helping women from welfare to work on your own personal side, business side, you were landing contracts or landing some type of partnerships that people were seeing was like, I know you're helping me here, but how are you doing this? Is that what you were saying?
Well, what happened was I got a contract with the state of Maryland at the time, and so they would send people to me. I had a program. I had, I wrote. They had put an RFP out. I wrote it. I won, and I basically said, hey. And at that time I was paralegal, and it was in a majority company. But I noticed that of the few blacks, I was always helping them. And every time I would sit with them and talk to them and train them, would always get promotions. So I'm like, hey man, I'm kind of good at this. The guy who was in the mail room is now big time in the IT department, and so that's how I started. I just trained them, and then I went out to major corporations and said, hey, look, I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna be one of those training programs where people come and sit for an hour and fill out paperwork. I rented it was like a mansion, and I turned every room into a different industry, and I even had a childcare center on site, and I made those ladies come as if they were at a job. The receptionist was my receptionist. I had a position for every one of them. So when it was time to graduate, They were already used to coming to the office every day for 40 hours. A week for 40 hours. They knew how to dress, they know how to speak. I felt whatever talent they had, that's where I put them. And Marriott, UPS, when I tell you on graduation, we had major corporations fight. That's how we got such a high price point. They were fighting over our women because they had come to the training center and they literally saw what we were doing and how we were doing it. And they were like, no, I'll take that one, not that one, this one, that one, and that one. And I had a graduation for them. And sometimes that was the first time that some of those ladies had ever walked across the stage. And it was so amazing. I loved doing that. That was a great time in my life.
That sounds astounding. First of all, you went above and beyond what you were brought there. I mean, obviously it's something that's natural that you do. We need more of yous duplicated in so many different industries because we, limit people based on what their current circumstance may be. And we don't know why, right? We label them because of that instead of putting them in positions not to only get opportunities, but put them in position to train for more and more other opportunities that are beyond what we were supposed to give them. Like that is amazing. So did you segue out of that once you start doing that with individuals, training them? The creativity is just off the charts. It's just wild how you just said that. You use a different rooms. So when you segue out of that, how did you go next? And how did you identify who I'm actually going to help? Because right at that time, you were being sent.
Yes, in other words, at that time, and I'm sure Georgia has something similar now. I was on an approved vendors list, and that meant that when they went to DFACS to sign their paperwork or sign up for their TANF, they would look and the caseworker would match them up with the program that they thought was the best for them. But I was the only one that had childcare because I knew that was a barrier. I had transportation. I got a van, and I was like, y'all gonna go to work. Y'all, and one of the roles of the ladies was a driver. So I was like, okay, well, you can be the driver, you can be the receptionist, you can be the daycare provider, because one of the young ladies wanted to have her own daycare. I was like, okay, we'll get you training right here. And so everybody had a role, but it was a role that they could go out and do for real, because they were real business roles. And so at that point, that's just kind of how they came, and they were called referrals. But, I had such a long waiting list because it was just my training center. And at that time, my competition was, I forgot that not Manpower. It was Man something. I forget what it is. But they were like, they would go in.
There was a Manpower.
Well, no, Manpower was a staffing agency, but it was started with an M. It was something else. But everybody was trying to get into the business because there was a lot of money in it at that time, a lot of contracts at that time. And so, but those programs couldn't touch mine because they had those people going in, sitting in a big old conference room, filling out job applications. I'm like, that ain't no training, because you got paid when a person got a job. And I was like, okay, well, I built my price because I said, I'm not gonna send this person out on the job hunt tomorrow. They don't even know what they're doing. Let me get them for a month. Let me teach them. Let me train them. And then I'll do that. So the process was literally the life cycle of getting off welfare and getting a job. That was what it was intended to be.
That is amazing. I'd never even heard about such programs. And I know, especially in my college years, I did get public assistance. I was fortunate enough to have social workers who seen what I was doing as a college student, and they were kind of circumventing some of the stuff that you're supposed to do to help support me move forward. But you're in that part of that system, not because we always hear the other side, right? We always hear those who are getting assistance, they're just lazy, they're focused on. We always hear the negative side. We don't hear about we don't know why, and people got to be very careful. You don't know when you'll be in a position to get that assistance. But we never hear about the people in there who are taking their position even more seriously to help position them. Well, you started focusing on, like you said, entertainers, athletes, and at that point, veterans, women. What made you start to shift the focus on the specific individuals you started focusing on?
Well, I had them when I first, started the program. The person who actually, she sat on a gazillion boards. My mentor, Dr. Mary Walker, she's gone now, but she kind of took me under her wing, and so I learned the whole government space with her. And so I was doing 8A certifications. I was doing GSA schedules way back in the 80s. Babe, I've been doing 8A I've been doing 8A when you had to send them in binders. And so though I noticed that the people who needed my help the most at that time, because 8A was just coming out. It was just coming out. So most of the people I was working with were small small minority businesses that were trying to get 8A certified. And that's how I got specialized in doing, working with those in socioeconomic groups. Then the Service Disabled Veteran certification came out. And then WOES came out. So they're all certification, which, by the way, I just want people to understand, because this is one fact that most people don't really understand, that certification is not based solely on ownership. It's based on control. So you've got a lot of people out here who think that I'm a woman-owned business, or a man who will put a business in his wife's name thinking, oh, okay, well, she can get certified. Well, no, sir, if she's been a housewife all her life, and they look at her resume, they realize she doesn't control the company. And that's why certifications are usually rejected, because there's not been somebody to be able to demonstrate that the socioeconomic designated person is not the person in control. And there's all kind of other ways for control as well. For example, if you only have one customer and y'all share office space, and he has some say-so in your business, that person has control. So it's not just about ownership. It's about who influences the company on the day-to-day.
Can you explain to them, since we kind of got there real quick, because I want to get off of it, certifications. I had got my law firm certified, WeBank and other stuff. And like you said, it's very stringent. Like you have to understand and know. But why are certifications? Why should some individuals, especially, business owners, of course, consider certification? How would that help position them with certain things?
It's a smaller pond. It is a smaller pond. So, you got set-asides. And so, only people who have a certain designation can actually, respond to those RFPs. Now, the other thing is some of them are also contract vehicles, meaning Service Disabled Vet is a certification, but you can also get a sole source contract. So is 8A. 8A is a certification for minorities, but you can also get a sole source contract. And that's SOLE, meaning a contract that is awarded to you without having to bid. It's negotiated. And so those are the certifications that are most important, unless you are oftentimes fulfilling the need of a prime to meet certain requirements. So those certifications that are not contract vehicles are a great way to get your foot in the door with the company as a subcontractor so that you can build your past performance. But if you are a company that once you have built your past performance and you are ready to prime, then you need to start looking at those certifications that also act as contract vehicles.
And can you explain to them, because some of our listeners or viewers now, listeners that will listen on the podcast, may not even understand some terminology. So with the RFPs, can you explain to them what that is? And then the second question is the certification. Can you kind of explain what businesses would benefit? Because some people think they wouldn't. But when I got certified, I was hearing all different type of businesses that were getting proposals for speaking engagements and everything. So those are two things I would like you to address. RFP.
Okay, now RFP, also called solicitations or bids, same thing. And that's there's a centralized depository called SAM, and all the opportunities that the government has are in that system. And so you got to bid, you got to do the paperwork. Even with the sole source, there's paperwork. So you definitely have to go through the process of understanding the life cycle of, one, identifying the opportunity, two, vetting the opportunity, three, capturing the opportunity. Now, let me tell you the difference. Vetting means, oh, yes, I can do the work. Capture means, how likely is it that I will win? And I just posted about this yesterday. The one thing people don't do, most people run straight to the scope of work and they just head down, write the proposal. There's a section called Section M, Evaluation Factors. Every federal proposal has a Section M, and it tells you how the government is going to award that. They tell you past performance, price, or technical approach. Those are the three things, and they put them in the order that's most important. So if you don't have past performance, and past performance is number one in terms of ranking factors, that's a bid you probably shouldn't bid on. Or if you do, you need to go find a partner who can meet those past performance requirements. So if you don't understand anything else, go to section L, which is instructions to offers, because I promise you, if they say 10 font and you give them 12, they won't even look at it. It could be the best proposal in the world. Section L, section M, the most important parts of a solicitation, because they tell you exactly how the government is going to award it. And the other one, what was it? Did I cover everything? The RFP?
No, the second one was type of companies that can benefit off of being certified. Some people thought, oh, I'm thinking of just this, but no, you're a speaker. There's maybe companies that put out proposals or bids to bring certain speakers in. So can you kind of speak to?
Sure. I can tell you that the majority of the people who get certifications, they get certified. And I think that they think all of a sudden the phone's going to start ringing off the hook. And back in the day, they did. Back when Ada, man, I had people in 1 week's time went from $0 to $1 million because it was new. There was only a few people in the program. Now there are thousands. So now you have to have a strategy. You have to have a business development strategy. So what that certification does is it decreases the pool of people who are going to be looking to bid, especially at the subcontract level. At the prime level, of course, those certifications are great too, because now you can go after those set-asides. But the sad part about it is people don't bid. It's like you get this wonderful, shiny certification and you don't bid. Nobody's going to pick up the phone and say, hey, I got a contract for you. That does happen sometimes. But if you don't work your certification or your contract vehicle, and by the way, let me just say this, the GSA schedule, that is the easiest and quickest contract vehicle that is not socioeconomic driven. It is like a big old catalog that every single government agency buys off of. It's like an approved vendors list, like a preferred vendors list. And it's a 20-year contract. But the thing is, if you're a small business, it's great because what happens is GSA goes out and gets the task orders. They're knocking on doors for you. All you got to do is respond to the task orders. You don't even have to do any business development. But people will get on that GSA schedule and they will not submit bids. So if you're going to take advantage of a certification or any type of contract vehicle or the GSA schedule, you've got to have a bid strategy or a task management system that says I'm going to bid at least 3 a week or 4 a week or 5 a week, because it's all about numbers, and you're not going to hit those huge numbers if you're just sitting back going after one proposal, sitting back and waiting if you're going to get that one. Anybody who's serious about government contracting, at a minimum, should be submitting 4 bids a month.
So you're saying GSA,
GSA, General Services Administration. They're like the purchasing department for the entire government. They buy everything. And so a lot of small businesses just don't know about it. But if I was I am a small business, but I'm not getting on GSA schedule. If I were someone looking to get into government contracting right now, I would look at the very first thing. We only have to be in business 2 years. And you have to have at least 2 relevant past performances where you've done this work before. But now they've even relaxed it that if you don't have it under your company, but you or anyone in your company that's considered key personnel, you can use their experience. So they're making it easy. And I'll tell you why they're making it easy now. And you're going to hear a lot about it because of this administration. With all of the contracting officers, being let go, okay, a lot of things that are now what are called open market. Open market means I'm going to go out here on SAM. I'm going to see one of these proposals and I'm going to bid. That's open market. GSA schedule, the only people who can bid on the GSA schedule are people who are on the GSA schedule. You can't bid. And so you're going to see a lot of the open market opportunities go away. There might be thousands out there now. You might look 6 months from now and there might be 100, because the government is basically saying, why do we have a way to buy stuff with companies who have already been vetted, companies who already have been determined to be fair and reasonable pricing? Why are we doing our open market bidding and we can just put out a task order and people who bid on it, those are the people who want to get the work, and it's streamlining. It's streamlined. Very rarely is it one of those great big old proposals. Now it's basically, task orders. So anybody who's listening and who's looking for the best place to start, if you've been in business 2 years and have past performance, it's definitely the GSA schedule, not the 8A. Everybody rushes out to get an 8A. I was like, for what? 8A is only 8 years. Well, 9 years. You graduate in year 9. And if no one has asked you, do you have your 8A? It's too early because it's relationship driven. And if you don't have any relationships, you're going to look up in year 6, it's going to be gone. Get on the GSA schedule first. Get your 2 or 3 task orders. Get a relationship with a contracting office or an agency. And then let 8A be secondary, because now people know who you are and they don't mind giving you a sole source contract because you've already delivered on a task order with the GSA schedule.
Wow.
And so GSA schedule is the way to go. 8A is secondary. So any of you out there who are thinking, when should I get my 8A? After you got some past performance and some relationships.
Yep. And to your point too, partnerships. And that's why I always talk about this and intertwine in a lot of my conversations. Partnerships is huge too, because where you may not be strong, you could partner with somebody who's strong there, but you're strong where they're not. Now you come together in this partnership and you can land a contract by offering it together as partners. And
exactly. So now, one thing I want to address with that, because people really, really get it wrong, especially on a socioeconomic settle side, just say it's a woman-owned. 51% of the work has to be performed by the person who holds the designation. So when you're looking for partners, make sure that they are partners that bring that. Now, if they're not, whoever has a designation has to prime it, and they have to do 51% of the work. So make sure when you're looking at partners, and there's 2 types of partnerships. Okay, there's your basic teaming. Okay. And then there's what they call CTA. I won't get too involved with that. But here's the thing. The difference between a small business can subcontract to a large business and still be considered small. Y'all hear me now? A small business can subcontract to a large business because you're doing it for capacity. Now, if that large business has something that you don't, but for that thing, you would not be eligible, you cannot go out. Now, you cannot team with a large business and still keep your small business designation. You can only subcontract, meaning I've done this work before. I just need you to help me do more of it. That's very, very important. A lot of people lose their small business size standard because they are teaming with a large business, and you can't do that. That's called an affiliation, and you can't have that.
Right. And I'm happy you highlighted that, because it's definitely strategic, and it's strategic in understanding the difference between partnering and subcontracting. Also, to your point, right? You don't want to ruin the reason why you qualified to be certified. You brought it up earlier. If you're woman certified, it has to be majority woman owned. A lot of people, if you're going to partner with your husband, this is a family business. You know it's your baby, it's you, but you add your husband, and then you can't prove that it's woman owned, or to the point you made. So it's these things you got to think about where paperwork comes important.
That's right.
Because you're going to have to submit things like the agreement and the operating agreement, everything, to show who owns what. So as you're also adding people to your dream, you have to pay attention to how that may interfere with how you can move up in different levels. You can't be woman owned and equally owned.
That's right.
By a male. So I'm happy you said that, because it made me think about that even with partnering, and be careful of how you are phrasing that. I said partner with, and I'm happy Linda definitely clarified too. Just also the way you do a subcontract. Don't come partnering that we're in this joint venture and then all of a sudden.
That's right.
And dismantle all of the reasons why.
You look up and your small business size standard has been revoked. And now you're not a small business anymore because you're associated or affiliated with a large business. So
with a large business that makes you either not women owned, I guess the minority owned, black owned. Because I had to submit birth certificate. I had to say, hey, Mom, I need a birth certificate of. It don't matter what I look like. It don't matter how I showed up. I think I look like a black woman. I identify. They said, I don't care. They said, You could be Hispanic, you could be
That's
whatever,
it.
but we want to
That's
look at
right.
that birth certificate to see what's said on there. And I remember there was someone who had an issue what was actually said on the birth certificate. It was just crazy. So they
Mhm.
drill all the way down.
Oh yeah.
So question, as
Yes.
we're talking about contracts as an opportunity, you'll hear a lot of, especially women-owned businesses, but minority-owned businesses, Black-owned business, access to capital.
Hmm.
Um, is a huge issue. But
It
it
is.
sounds like to me, right? You access the capital with people trying to get just borrowing money or investors, but this is a whole sector that seems ignored as well. So
Mhm.
when you look at small business owners, what are some misunderstandings, misconceptions, or overlooked things when
I
it
was going to
comes
tell you,
to
there's
contracts?
one thing that very few people even know about. Pretty much every single contract has what is called a third party assignment clause. Okay. What that means is that if you find a lending institution, they become part of the contract. So there's no risk. But here's what happens. And I tell you what the bad side to that is. And I tried many, many years to educate banking institutions. They don't have a checkbox for that. They're like, Miss Linda, we're not government contractors. So what if somebody doesn't perform? We can't. I was like, that's why you need to partner with contracts and grants, because if this contractor messes up, I got 500 more in my arsenal that can get it. However, this is an amazing way for you guys to create a whole nother product called third party assignment contracting. So you give the person the money for the contract, and guess what? You get paid. The person who's lending, the contract is all payments go to the person who's in the lending. So there's no risk.
Oh,
And if the risk that some people are concerned about, which is what if they don't perform, guess what? You just have another subcontract. Start your own business. That says, okay, there's just so many ways, but it's called third party assignment clause. And all you have to do is ask the contracting officer to invoke it and find a financial institution that will, work with you. And some of the, what do you call them? CDFIs, Community Development Financial Institutions, CDFIs. They're starting to kind of get it now. And I've even seen the government, depending upon how the person sets up the agreement, I've seen them use, private lenders as well. So that's a contract. Excuse me. That is a capital type of product that not a lot of people know anything about. But outside of that, at the end of the day, if you don't have 90 days worth of money, and it happens all the time. What type of contract you want? I want $1 million contract. Okay. Well, on day one, and you got to hire 5 people. Do you have? No. I said so. No, you can only go after a contract the size of what you have in terms of liquid capital, because you're going to have to finance that contract for at least 90 days. But it's gotten better. It used to be, but once you get through that 90 days, it's pretty much like clockwork. But those first 90 days, if you don't have capital in place, so don't be so eager to get a large contract. Get one that that you can handle. Start off with maybe 250,000 or whatever, using your personal lines of credit or whatever. And then once you build past performance, then other people will be willing to take chances with you. And you also can, that might be your partnership strategy. Hey, I'm going to, partner with, and that I do a lot of those. I do a lot of negotiations where small businesses have the relationship with the contracting officer. The contracting officer wants to give them the work, but they know they don't have the capacity. So they'll come to me to ask me to find them another business that I trust that they can use. And what happens is that company primes the contract simply because they can finance it. And the secondary company, they still get past performance. They just don't have the capacity to be able to manage a large contract. So, in that case, you got to get someone you can trust. I've also seen people, use their relationship to get a contract, and the prime just ran off with the relationship, and you never hear from them again. So those stories do happen. So you have to, work with someone that you trust. And I've worked with so many companies over the years, so I have a very, very strong pipeline of companies with all socioeconomic designations.
And that's why relationships are important. And that's why connecting with the right individuals, not just connecting with individuals, but the right individual, experience and done it, but not even just your experience. You brought in your whole essence and aura. Like, this is what you did when you did work from welfare, right? You focused on all the way out. You're just bringing Linda Chatmon to every situation. And so you're thinking like this. That is a huge one with the third party
assignment clause.
assignment clause, because whatever they do land, it goes to whoever's lending, but at least you can get that money up front, because that is one of the reasons why individuals, but they don't think strategically, like you said, maybe start small and build up or do other things, but they don't get things because you may see this contract, but you don't get it as soon as you approve. You got to upfront call.
And that goes back to the number one issue that keeps small businesses from doing well in the government space. And I got to say this, they don't know how to price. People lose their shirt because they don't know the difference between direct and indirect costs. They just give a rate. I'm like, how you come up with that rate? Oh, yeah. I went online and that's how. I was like, sweetheart. And it's another reason why you should not care. I'm gonna do what the last person bid, and I'm gonna knock off 5%. You don't know, that person might own their building, but you pay rent. How are you going to base your rate on somebody else's circumstances? Maybe he owns his own tools. His indirect cost, he might not have any. You might have a whole lot. That's why your rate is higher. And one thing about the federal government, that's why everything is not always about the cheapest price. They just want to know that it's fair and reasonable. Fair and reasonable means that it's your cost incurred plus a reasonable markup. That's what it is. And if you can prove to them through your cost price analysis, this is why I charge this price. I don't want to gouge you, but look, I have rent, I have vehicles, I have tools, and most people just they don't know what they're doing, and they get these big old contracts, and they lose them because they don't know how to price. They don't know the difference between a firm fixed price and then a per unit price, and they just pull rates out of the sky. And that is killing small businesses. So once you understand pricing and know how to do what I call the cost buildup, figure out how to do one. Whatever it is you sell, whatever widget or person you sell or resell, figure out how to do one and then just increase the quantity. But you got to know exactly what your indirect costs are, how much of it, and you got to load your rate, because you got your pay rate. But then you got all the fringe. That's another 30%. And then you got the G&A, because now you got, the cost of doing business. And then there's profit. So you're talking about a 50% markup probably from your pay rate. Whatever you pay the person, chances are your bill rate is going to be 50 to 75% higher simply because of your indirect costs.
Absolutely. No. And it's important, to your point, for them to know it, but also to know it when you're asked. So a lot of times, minority-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses, women lose opportunities too, because we don't know the information for ourselves. And more importantly, we don't know the information to communicate to whoever we need to communicate for the opportunity.
Exactly.
So it's important to know that, because they're already determining, even if they don't say it in front of you, you're getting that no, because they already read what your entire business is about. You can have the most exceptional service or product, but because you weren't able to answer these, go to watch some episodes of Shark Tank, see what they ask, and see if you can answer those questions. And then also see how they respond to the ones who can't answer it. And then they'll tell you what those questions they're asking, and then start answering those questions for yourself. Because we have to know how to communicate.
And if you ever get to the negotiation table, you got to know when you can say, no, I can't do it for that.
Yeah, because you know your number.
So focused on getting the contract that if the government comes back and says, okay, well, can you reduce it by 20%? I said, this is my favorite line when I tell somebody something. When I give you a rate, if you ask me, can I get a 20% discount? I'm like, sure, you can get a 50% discount. What 50% of the work are you going to do now? Because what you don't get to do is to get a discount without a shift in scope.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So now I'll say, okay, well, you need to come down 20%. Okay, well, here, maybe what you can do the recruiting then. And you could, but never, ever should you reduce your rate without a change in scope. Because if you do, that means your price was too high to begin with. You ought not have that much wiggle room. It should be cost incurred plus indirect costs plus a reasonable markup, typically between 10 to 12%. So when you hear a person say, oh, I'm 80%, no, it ain't. No, it's not. You do not have an 80% markup. What it is you just lumped it all together and you think it. But if you really sit down and did a cost price analysis, you'll realize that you're only making 8% profit. Everything else is indirect cost. But because people don't capture it, and all they see is the checks coming in, checks coming in, checks coming in, they never realize the loss until the contract ends. But they still got 2 more months to pay people, and they don't have the income to do it.
And this applies outside of government. This is just business 101 to understand whatever you're offering. These are some of the things that we need to go back and understand. And I get it, right? So these are not some of the conversations we've had. We just had conversations of be an entrepreneur. Yeah. Oh, you do this great. Start your business. Like no one really went. And I'm so grateful that things are happening that's forcing us to kind of go backwards and fix some things. But this is why I love having these conversations. This is what's going to help you, government contracts or not.
That's right.
To understand what you need to do to be successful for your business and not be constantly struggling. What are some of so if somebody was an entertainer, an athlete, what would be some of the reasons that they would think about possibly, is it starting a whole separate business, or is it they can offer a service from entertainment?
Well, I work with athletes. I do it a variety of ways. A lot of they just want me to help them with their foundation. And then other cases, I'm like, guys, you do realize that, and most athletes don't understand the value of their relationships. Oh, I know the president of the bank. Oh, he's my next door neighbor. Boy. So if they're not interested in being in business as a CEO, partner with someone and let the athlete be the person who drives the relationship. Okay. And I wasn't going to say this, but since you brought it up, my next product, I haven't come up with a name with it yet. I was, Dave Tolliver, Dave.
Yeah,
Dave is going to be my little guinea pig. And what we're doing is I'm like, you know what? Think of eBay, but instead of widgets, relationships. Hey, I want to meet the vice president of Chase Bank. How much is it worth to you? Okay, so now I'm giving athletes and celebrities and entertainers a way to monetize their relationship, because there's business people out there, because it'll cost you $5,000 to get to a VP, that level of relationship, especially that level of warm relationship. So now I'm saying, okay, let me monetize your relationships, because as a person who's been paid for business development my entire life, I know that people are willing to do that. Some people are willing just for introductions, but think about what if it came with an athlete who had a great relationship with someone and they trusted that athlete. And so they're going to do business with that person because they like them, because the athlete brought them to them. So for the most part, that's how I help them develop. And then for those who are in business, it's the same process. The fact that they're an athlete doesn't change the model. Especially in terms of government contracts. I think Roddy White is a perfect example. I didn't have the opportunity to work directly with him, but I did work with someone in his office on the government contract. He had a construction firm. I don't think he knew anything about construction, but he had one of the larger construction companies here in Atlanta. So the process is the same, but the difference is that the relationships that celebrities, entertainers, and athletes have just gets them to the table a little quicker.
Smart, strategic. Listen, if y'all ain't here, this is someone to absolutely connect with, and when you're serious, someone to actually reach out to. That, like I said, when you're ready to really understand this, we're gonna have to learn every strategic tip, position as we move forward. I mean, just look at it. We can't get consumed in our climate. We have to get more empowered, more motivated, more invigorated, and we have to start learning these things like this. We really do. Because that's what's going to shift us to power position. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that you are doing. So you mentioned a few other things, contract. You could start with anyone first. So you have the app we talked about.
Yeah, the first one. In fact, they can just go to my website, lindachatmon.com. Okay. And all of my brands are there. It's listed right there. It's just like a big old link tree. So whichever one you're interested in, you just click on it. And I have a really nice giveaway that I have. And I want people to get it because everybody needs it. Okay. One of it, I call it the freelancer emergency guide. And I also have a cyber attack emergency guide because I'm going to tell you one day we're going to go to pick up this internet and it ain't going to be there. What's happened to your website? Who got your stuff? You got to have certain information. With the freelance emergency kit, it's getting information ahead of time because freelancers are usually solopreneurs. Okay, what if they get sick? Who do you know that you got the child name, the mama? Look, before I hire a freelancer, I give them this form to fill out, and the form it's a template, and then it's you can enter the data right there. I need to know your emergency contact. I need to know where your backup drive is because I need to get my stuff. There's a lot of things that small businesses just kind of leave out there because at the end of the day, if something were to happen to me, I still got people I got to pay. What's going to happen if I fall out or get in an accident or something? They got to wait for their money. No, there should be a trigger. And I tell everybody, create a trigger. My trigger is that if I miss a meeting, come send the ambulance for me. I don't miss meetings. Or if you don't hear from me or I don't respond to an email within 2 days, you better check on me. So whatever your trigger is, what it does is it triggers that emergency response, which might be, hey, call my daughter, call this number, email this person. Here's the password to me this. All of that needs to be in one place because the day is going to come, whether it's a freelancer ghosts you or the internet goes out for 3 or 4 days and everything is on the internet or on your phone, your bank stuff. Keep in that emergency kit. I just think everybody should have it. Everything from medication to cash, everything that you need personally and professionally in the event of a cyber attack.
Cyber attacks are real.
Yes, they are. So it's lindachatmon.com and you go down and at the very bottom it says click here to get the the emergency kit, but everything else in between, you got the +1, you got emotional immunity, you got the app Diva, age appropriate, which is my dating and relationship brand. And there's so many women out there who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s finding themselves still dating. Unfortunately for me, it was because of widowhood. But at the end of the day, here I am. So that's a conversation too, because now how do you do that and run a business? So we talk a lot of bit about that too. So across 4 generations, by the way.
Absolutely. Well, then, I mean, you already kind of answered then because these different brands that you just mentioned, I was going to ask you, how do they, work together?
Yep.
But
+1, put the person that you want to meet in a social environment. It's where business meets lifestyle. Now, some people may use it for a dating app, maybe so, but when you fill your profile out, you say, look, I only want people who want to network. Okay, well, you're only going to get those events where people have clicked networking. And so you get to decide the type of +1 it is. But for the most part, it's really just where business meets lifestyle. And it's people who are already doing business together and now they're starting to socialize together.
Right. And so it could be the business relationship have to be healthy. You find it. So that's helping in business. But even if it was something that was personal relationship, that affects your business.
Oh, of course.
Right. So all that stuff, everything affects what you're actually doing. So you have the +1. What was the other one?
The other one, emotional immunity. That's the book series.
That's the book series. How many?
Yeah, 3 books. The first book is called The Avalanche. When I tell everybody what happened, I just break down the last 7 years. Lost my sister first, then my husband, then my parents. Then it was just horrible. And the avalanche. And then the second one is Healing with the Ones Who Broke Me. And that's really about me literally going face to face with my ex and with those other people in my lives, and it's just not for exes. It's for mothers and daughters, fathers and sons, pastors and congregation. Anybody that left you broken, you've got to face them. You got to be injected with them so that you can be around them and not be negatively impacted by it. So I share my story of how I did that, how I had to wean myself off of a particular situation so that now I could be in the middle of that situation and it not impact me at all. And then the last book is called Emotionally Immunized. It means, okay, I'm here. Here's the restoration. This is what came out of it. I talk about what my new business model looks like. I talk about what my dating life looks like now. I healed from that. So now I'm like, if you can just get through You can just get through the process. On the other side of it is where you will find healing and peace and all of that good stuff. So it's a 3-part series. It's my journey. Excuse me, 3-part series with my journey through grief, heartache, and business transformation.
So we have the partnering or pairing of your plus one that helps you build and connect relationships. You have this 3-part series that's about healing, right? We bring who we are to. I know
October the 1st, by the way, and I'm giving away the first book.
Wait, you said it's so it starts.
Yeah, October the 1st is the first book released. October the 1st, and I'm giving away, and I'm telling you, I'm giving it away because I want people to know how bad it can be. And I don't want anyone not to have access to it because somebody's going through something right now. But I was like, when you see all the stuff that I went through in 7 years, people thought, oh my God, there's a lot of stuff behind this right here that was going on. And I just, it's my book. The second book, because it's a process, I'm still working on the price point for that. But my first book, The Avalanche, it basically chronicles what happened in the last 7 years.
Usually when someone goes through a lot, you feel that passion. You feel passion in things that they actually do. You feel something there. That's why they do so much. So is there an event, some type of thing you're doing to introduce the book on October 1st, or do they go to the lindachatmon.com?
Yeah, they can go to lindachatmon.com. And actually those people who get the emergency kit, I automatically send them one. Anybody who gets whose email I have, I'm just sending to them, hey, here you go. This is on me. Hope you get some reading out of that. Hope you get some comfort out of that. Because what it does is it sets you up for the second book, Healing with the Ones That Broke Me. I mean, now that people don't want to know how I did that. And so I'm gonna walk you through that process, whether it's you trying to get another relationship with your mother as a daughter, because there's some mother-daughter relationships out there that are broken. There's some father-son relationship. There's some baby mama relationships. Heal with the one who broke you. Because you don't have a choice. Well, you do have a choice.
Well, yeah, you do have a choice. You either stay stuck or not. Is there one we missing? Like, okay, so we got the healing. We have the partnering. Of course, we have the contracts. If like I'm missing, there's one more. What?
There's plus one, there's age appropriate, there's plus one, age appropriate, MIS contracts and grants, plus one, age appropriate, 8 to 4, contracts and capital, 8 to 14. Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Okay, well, all those definitely work together. If you were to just speak to individuals that are listening now, especially newly founders or first time, or even those thinking about, because there's a lot of displacement. You know that's going on right now, right? So if there's displacement, people are going to have to figure it out. What are some of the things they can think about as they're developing or transitioning or trying to get better with identifying such opportunities to help them?
I think the first thing is literally recognizing that you need help. I mean, I get a lot of people, that think that they're in a better place. In other words, they don't realize, because that's part of my healing. I didn't even know I was depressed until I wasn't anymore, because I still had to show up as a mother. I had to show up. I had to show up as a mother. I had to show up as a grandmother. I had to show up as a CEO. So there's a lot of people going through some stuff, and they don't even know they're going through it until they start to come up out of it. Because I knew I was off. I was like, I don't feel myself. Something, I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew. And then as I started going through my process of healing with the ones that broke me, that's when it hit. When I can sit and have a conversation with a person who broke my heart. When I can sit and have a conversation with my daughter, because maybe, we didn't have the best relationship and we had to, come up with a whole nother way of getting back to where we needed to be. And I don't know that I knew that I was in that situation until I started coming up out of it. So a lot of people just don't know. So be honest with yourself and have some type of accountability system where you are accountable to yourself. that says, when this happens, I know I'm in trouble. Don't start, as my mama used to say, don't wait until the water gets up here. Start yelling when it gets on your ankles. Start yelling when it gets on your ankles. Don't wait till it gets up here, because you ain't gonna have time to fix it. But yeah, just in terms of being a founder, entrepreneur, recognizing that everything in your life contributes to you as a CEO. So make sure you take care of those things. You don't have a choice about technology anymore. You don't have a choice about family. So you got to have family, friends, business relationships, all of those in order to succeed as a CEO. You're going to touch every area of someone's life.
I love that part that you said right there. I mean, all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been needed.
Yep.
But more so now than ever. All the parts of your life make you, like, the famous phrase, I separate my personal and professional. Like, who you are personally, what you have going on personally is going to affect the professional. And even when you think it's not, you don't talk, people from the outside can feel it.
Yep.
You can absolutely see it. So you want to look at each aspect to see, how can I work on all these aspects so you show up in every context.
That's right.
In the way that you need to absolutely show up.
Exactly.
Is there anything that you want to leave our listeners, our viewers with that we did not touch? And I know one of the things they really want to hear, but I want you to leave what you want to leave, is because people are struggling. People are struggling, financially, and they don't know resources and opportunities are out there. They only know what they always hear. And again, they always just hear, you need an investor, you need this. They don't know these.
I can tell you right now, sweetheart, if you not on the AI train, you're going to get left behind. So invest in a course, do something to at least understand what it does. Because I'm telling you, and I just posted about this yesterday too. I was like, at the end of the day, people think that AI is going to take their jobs. And I'm saying, I'm using it to make myself more valuable. Because who's going to fact check? Who's going to fact check ChatGPT? When you submit a proposal, ChatGPT, you don't know if you're doing it right or wrong. So now my time is more valuable. Oh, and another point now is you got to get away from hourly pricing. If people who are hourly pricing, got to get away from that, because the AI took away time. So now you price by the value of what you deliver. What used to take you 40 hours to do might only take you an hour now. But guess what? The value of the end result is still that value. So make sure AI, just learn, take a course, start with the basics, but please learn AI. It almost, for a minute there, I just thought it was going to wash my business completely away, but I had to adjust. And I went out and I got all the training and I started using it. And so now I'm very, very comfortable with it. I just think if there's one thing people have to do, AI, because AI even makes the government contracting process a lot easier, because now you can submit way more bids and grants as well.
And I agree with you on the AI. Definitely get training so you understand how to use it responsibly, effectively. It is definitely a help, to the point we were just saying. If you don't have the finances already and there's a struggle, that is your team. Like, using artificial intelligence now compared to artificial intelligence in the past, you can literally designate team members to do very specific things, and you train that team member to do. I want you to focus on my sales and strategy. I want you to be my collaborator. Like, you can focus on very, very specific things, but that to know everything, or to at least get you started on the right path, get a training to understand how to do it. Exactly. It can't take away jobs, but it can definitely, because even what big businesses are finding, when they even tried that, you still need a human aspect. So to be ahead of the game, just integrate it. It can help.
It just makes you faster and better.
And time is what we need back. That is the commodity. That's our most expensive thing.
Off the table. That's right.
Take time off the table. So it gives you back your time. It also not just gives you back your time. You have a person to collaborate. Just like we have this genius right here on our stage, right? You say, okay, well, I can't talk to Linda all the time. You can get on there and try to ask it the questions, look at things, really
I
start.
tell you what, they can even. In fact, I'm going to put my. I've actually created a Linda Chatmon bot, and I'm going to put that on my website probably next week, so that those people who want to have access to me, hey, you can have access to me. There you go. Anything you want to ask me, you can ask her, because I've been talking to her for the last 2 years. She know everything I know. I call her AI Linda.
That's what I'm saying. You come up with a different name. So the more you use it, the more you train it. There's things, of course, especially when it comes to certain professions like legal, you got to double check a lot of different things and make sure you cross reference a lot of things. You can't just, because it's picking up based on the tokens it was given. And if anything was given a little incorrectly, you can come tweak something or ask somebody else and tweak it, and then it begins to grow and get better and better. But that can literally be your
accurate. Who knows if it's accurate?
Right.
It's going out, because if somebody came out and said, hey, this is a pencil, and I know it's a pen, and somebody put out there to ChatGPT, it's going to tell you, oh, okay, well, this is a pencil. So so that's why I'm saying now, use it to leverage your subject matter expertness in whatever industry you're in, because now you get to fact check ChatGPT.
And now you build a 10 U's. That's all your staff and your team. And then you can bring other people on, and it helps you to think things quicker. Like you said, produce certain things quicker. You say, let's collaborate on this marketing strategy right here. And it come back and tell you something. Oh, think about that. And you go back and forth with it with conversation. So I agree with you on the AI tremendously. And of course, I agree with you on understand that every part of you touch whatever it is that you're currently doing or thinking about doing.
That's right.
So, well, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This is definitely going to be, it'll be on the podcast, but I'm going to slice this up to bring people here to keep listening. How can people connect with you? So they already know to go to lindachatmon.com.
That's why I put everything in a hub. Everything. You don't have to go to, you can get to my social media, you can get to the information, you can sign up for the app, you can get your emergency kit. Everything is in one place on lindachatmon.com, and it says The Real Linda Chatmon. You're in the right place. It says all things Linda Chatmon. That's what it says.
Well, there you go. So you go to lindachatmon.com. Go ahead and check that out. Connect with her, and do more than connect. See how her knowledge, her expertise, and what you're doing can work for each other. See if there's a mutual beneficial thing there. So I thank you so much for those who have tuned in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. For those who tuned in tonight for the conversation with Linda, as you've seen, she pulled back the curtain on different strategies, especially when it comes to contracting. A lot of people not even thinking about that, but pull back the curtain. You have to think about the structure of your business, the structure of what you're doing, to make sure that it aligns with opportunities that are out there. When you find the opportunities, the one big thing that Linda brought up is read and understand the opportunities. What a lot of us get stuck on, and this is in all industries, this is not just entrepreneurship, it's sports and entertainment. We get stuck on that number. We see a dollar sign and we run for it. Yes, it's this. And we forget about all the other terms and information that's a part of it. The one thing Linda brought up, especially for opportunities, you see that number, now go to that line G, or is it 4? There you go. Go to that line. See what is expected. See all see what they're not just what is expected.
Section M of the solicitation. I'm sorry.
Section M.
Section M, the evaluation factors.
There you go. About to say not just what's expected, but what do they want to look at? They're literally telling you this.
They're telling you how they're going to award it.
A lot of
people, they never look past the scope of work. They so busy trying to figure out how they're going to do the work. I'm like, well, they said you have to have done this 5 times. You've only done it 3. Why are you bidding?
So that's what I'm saying. So that's in a lot of things we do. Listen, entrepreneurs, listen, athletes, entertainers, anybody, read what's expected, especially when a person tells you or a company tells you, because a lot of times they don't tell you. You wonder why you're just not getting opportunities. But when they tell you and you're not taking the time to dissect that, and then if you can meet every expectation, communicate it in the way in which they're asking for you to communicate it. I would literally follow even the
I do it like a question and answer. I just cut and paste the section there, the instructions to offers, and I just respond. Just respond. That way you hit every single bullet point instead of just
Every
doing
single
summary.
bullet point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is in contracts. That's in our life in general. For those who are unfortunately probably displaced, even if you're back in the workforce and you said, I just want to get a job. It's the same thing. When you're looking at a job posting, pay attention to everything it's saying, spew its language back to them, because when it goes through HR, it's all the things are automatically getting weaned out based on what's said and what's not said. So this is just a mindset of how to deal with anything, how to help you fuel business growth, build your generational wealth once you fuel that business growth, and just to unlock so much out there that is meant to be locked up. You have individuals like Linda who are giving you these tips that you can apply across board. I mean, we talked capital, we talked just being confident by, if you understand information and you follow it, you should have a confidence on what you can do. We talked about what partnership means, how you don't alleviate opportunity, how you eliminate it. If there's opportunity there, think about how you're structuring what you're doing to make sure that you're in the best position for the opportunity. Don't add partners or do things that can actually hurt that. So if you're building something meaningful, definitely don't just chase visibility, chase viability. And this is what we're all talking about right now, right? Don't forget, I understand social media, you got to put things out, but know that you're putting things out because it's a part of your plan of viability and not visibility.
That's right.
I
like that.
And that's the kind that's back by all the stuff we talked about.
Okay, I like that. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Hey, you can reach me out. My email's on there. My phone number's on there. However you need to reach me, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. I look forward to doing this again sometime. Or meet you out.
We talk
+1 on some stuff. How about that?
You said what?
I said maybe you can be my +1 on some stuff. How about that?
Listen, I promise you I will. Listen, I'm a woman of my word. I promise you I will. Everybody else, the more you know, the more you grow, the more you learn, the more you earn. When you share, you care. Keep elevating. Until next time, keep striving, keep growing, and most importantly, keep seeking elevation, peace, and progress.